Shall we start the traditional place with kind of injuries and where the squad's at?
Yeah, so only one more to report from kind of the list anyway. So Tyrese Shade's he's had a little niggle with his hamstring, but he's been kind of introduced back into bits of training this week. And then everything else is pretty much just the same. Rushan obviously been integrated into bits of training, but is still probably a number of weeks away. Angus MacDonald and Tom Clayton have been introduced into pretty much all the training now. So they'll do more obviously next week, and pretty much we'll be back to normal.
Tyrese had picked up that problem before Saturday, is that why he wasn't in their squad?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. He picked it up. He dropped out of training the Thursday before obviously Saturday's game. And it's kind of just a low grade hamstring that we've kind of worked on and nurtured this week, and then he's slowly got integrated, so he won't be too far away.
And before that, he played every game, whether it was starting or coming off the bench.
He did, yeah. No, he's a good impact player, but I think he's got more in his tool bag to certainly be a starter for us. We just want to try and get him up to speed. Obviously, after this injury, once we get him up to speed, I want to really push him to become a starter for us, because I think he can offer something different than the other players. I think he's got power, pace. I think he's got great ability. We just got to try and channel that into his performances, but I think he's done okay.
So two different formations for the last couple of games. How key is, so when you're sitting down and thinking about the next game you've got, how is it literally the first thing you think about the formation or the system you want to play, or is it more the personnel available to you?
Well, I think that what's important is that for me certainly is to try and get a bit of continuity. I'm not somebody, even though we have played quite a few formations, I'm not somebody who likes to chop and change, week in, week out sort of thing. I'd like to get where we're settled within a formation. We might have to tinker every now and then. We played the 4-3-3 for a number of weeks, and it did us good. We won some games in that period. In fact, I think during that period we went the 9 unbeaten. But I felt that Jacob Wakeling suited him playing down the middle more so, and obviously Jephcott, in my opinion, can't play in a wider position. So we've looked at that and felt that them two playing up as a pair would definitely cause problems to any defensive line in League Two. So whether that's playing with a 3-5-2 or whether it's playing a 4-diamond-2, or even a 4-4-2, that's kind of down to me. But what I want to try and do is try and have a bit of continuity. We like to have an overload in the middle of the pitch if we can as well, which we feel is important, obviously, to the way we play.
I'm probably sort of probing into selection too much here, but does that sort of indicate you'd like to give Jephcott and Wakeling a few more games to establish an understanding as a player?
I think so, yeah, and I think they have already. It's clear to see, especially in training as well, they're starting to talk to each other about kind of, if I drop in here, I'm going to move there, and having that understanding between themselves, which is good. And that's it's always a good thing when you've got a pair who have played a number of games together, start to feel each other's kind of movements and understand each other's positioning, and I think that's important.
Do you sort of see a difference in Jacob this week, having come back and I think it was 9 or 10 games since he'd scored? So do you see a difference in him, or is that sort of lack of goals not really got to him?
No, I don't think it's got to him at all. I think he's one of them kind of players who just gets on with things anyway. It maybe did affect him himself, but he certainly didn't show it. He worked hard every day. I think, if any striker's gone through a dry period, I think they're probably starting to think deep into it, but he certainly hasn't shown that in training.
What's your sort of feeling about the three at the back last week on reflection of how that worked for you?
I think it was. Listen, there were certain elements of the game where we were slow in our build-up. We were ponderous at times. I felt 10 yards deeper than we should have been in our build, which kind of makes the whole team become deep. Wing backs included. Midfield players want to try and run the wrong side of their press to get on the ball because they feel that they're not touching the ball. And then as a team we end up being deep, and then we don't become an attacking threat. We've done a lot of work on that this week, so we're hopeful to see an improvement within that.
So that's a bit of kind of getting up the pitch and just adding a bit of, I don't know, sort of dynamism or tempo you move the ball now?
Definitely. All the games we've done well in, we've always started really well front foot, fast attacks. And we didn't see that Saturday. We were kind of slow and ponderous within our build, which is something that we've worked on this week.
The sort of tradition is that Crewe are sort of seen as a kind of possession-based sort of passing side. Is that still the case, do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I've watched the last two games. Obviously, the guy who's took over now, Lee Bell, he's come in and taken the last two games. We've won the last two, and they've certainly been possession-based. They do play. They've got a good goalkeeper who can play with his feet as well as anybody. They've got players on the pitch who can handle the ball. So we're going to have a plan in place to try and dominate the game ourselves. So we'll see.
Does it feel a bit different to have a kind of more possession-orientated side come down? Because you have seen a number of sides sort of come here, and it feels like look to perhaps contain you more than really focus on having the ball themselves.
Yeah, it probably does feel a bit different. It's nice to watch a team who try and play. Gives you kind of different things to look at, different things to consider. Rather than a team who welly the ball forward and run after it and try and drop on seconds. It's a little bit different. It gives you a little bit more work to do, which I'm more than happy to do.
A lot of this is down to the opposite. Do you ever sort of worry about the kind of spectacle that you're producing as well as a result, or do you have to kind of focus purely on the result as well as the entertainment value?
The spectacle is just as important for me. I think we want to play a brand of football where the fans are happy, and we're dominant with our possession. I think there's a fine line between being dominant and being boring, and I think sometimes we've got that wrong. Not through the want of trying to be exciting, but just through kind of circumstance of what an opposition have put up against us. But we want to be in control. I feel that pretty much most games we've had that. Have we had enough goals to excite the crowd? Probably not. Have we attacked the opposition at every given opportunity as much as I would have liked? Probably not, but we're working really hard to create that. But certainly the performance, you have to ask any member of staff, anybody down that corridor, any player, the performance means everything to us. We're really proud of the way we want to send the fans away excited and pleased with what they've seen. We're a team that own the ball. We're dominant with the ball, but we do want to score more goals.
Does that feel a little bit, I don't know, different from cultures of other teams or other clubs when you speak to managers? There are other managers you think are just perhaps more worried about kind of keeping their job for week to week and getting a win by hook or by crook than having the sort of style very much at the centre of what they're trying to do? That's
football in general, I think. Football management in general's, results based, isn't it? Rule number one, win games. And it's very much like that up and down the country at probably every club. And probably my job's no different in many ways. We've just got an ethos where we want to play good football and produce good players, and that's important to the football club that we play. we play through the thirds and we have all the possession. That's really important. And I think it helps from a recruitment point of view when it comes to handpicking players who we feel can fit in. I think it helps. Premier League clubs will look at us and think, right, we'll send our players to that club because they play very similar to how we do in the Premier League. So, we're really proud of that.
And